Hello nerds, thank you for watching Generally Nerdy. This is your week in Nerdom Music Edition for the week of September 24th, 2018. This week we actually have quite a bit in music. Like I said, last week was kind of getting a couple of things done just so that we were done, and this week I'm making up for the lost 2 weeks. Which is actually kind of sort of 2.5 weeks if you count last week, because it's, you know, bad audio and I'm rambling, so let's hit up the intro real quick.
Quiet on the set, rolling.
Hi, I am Bitsy Telek.
Hey, I'm Hale Appleman.
I'm Walter Kane.
I'm Rene Aubergenois. Odo on Deep Space Nine.
Michael Dorn, Lieutenant Commander Worf, Star Trek The Next Generation.
Come and see me and hear me and talk to me and listen to me talk about myself.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, often considered generally nerdy, and you are listening to what is often considered generally nerdy.
On Generally Nerdy.
You're listening to
Generally Nerdy.
Generally Nerdy.
Generally nerdy.
Alright guys, first things first for music, we have a pretty big announcement. I feel like we have Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and Atticus Ross specifically, because they're the only ones who really matter in Nine Inch Nails. They have been commissioned to do the score for the Watchmen TV series over on HBO. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of the coolest thing I've heard about the Watchmen TV series so far. Everything else has been really fair to middling, kind of mixed at best. This is legit. Yes, please, let's get more decisions like this. I mean, there's not really a whole lot. They haven't released anything yet. There's no, other than the announcement of, hey, Trent and Atticus are going to be doing this thing, and it's going to be great because pretty much every other soundtrack they've ever done has been pretty freaking awesome, even at times better than the movie that they're scoring. So there is that. So that's that, and then our next bit of news has to do with a band. I don't know if we've talked about them yet on the show, but they're pretty awesome. It's a Japanese band called Maximum the Hormone. If you're an anime watcher, then you might recognize the name, because they've actually done 2 songs that have ended up in animes. The first of which is Rolling Senton. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that right. Which was in the Air Master anime. It was the end credits song. And then they also had one of their songs make it into the Death Note series. It was actually one of my favorites of theirs. Zetsubo Billy, I think is how that's pronounced. The way I describe, if you're unfamiliar with Maximum the Hormone, the way I describe their sound, generally speaking, is they're kind of Japan's version of System of a Down. There's no real way to nail them down aside from that, and they even aren't. That's really still not even very accurate, because there's a lot more punk rock and there's a lot more like new metal metalcore elements to their sound, or at least what their sound was. They recently made a pretty big announcement. They've been on hiatus for the last few years, with their original drummer giving birth and so much stuff going on. Now it seems they have come back. They've signed with a new record label, which is the VAP is the record label. I don't know exactly what the VAP stands for, but their worldwide distributor, their distributor that's going to bring them to the States with this new record deal, is Warner. So that's good, I guess. I mean, it's bringing more Maximum Hormone stateside. Now, to announce this change, and also to announce their yet untitled new record that comes out in November sometime, they released a video that's about 7 minutes long. It's a music video technically, but the second half of the video is just nonsense, which is kind of on par with the guys in Maximum the Hormone. Now, again, generally speaking, when I'm telling somebody about their sound who has never heard them before, I say they're Japan's answer to System of a Down. This song is not normal for them. It's not that it's a bad song, it's more just unexpected. The sound that they have in this song is very, very, very pop punk. And they have elements of that in their sound from what I know from their previous records. This is apparently a new musical direction, or it's just this announcement. There's really no way to tell until the record comes out with these guys, because they do just random crazy things like this. Now, in the video, you'll notice that they just have, primarily on vocals, they just have the guitar player singing, bass player doing some backups, and then they have a new female vocalist as opposed to their female drummer, who is no longer in the band. It's so much is going on with this lineup. They don't have the screamer vocalist, at least in the video. Whether or not he's going to be on the record, or if even that's the sound they're going for anymore, again, we really won't know until November. It's just really fun to speculate because these guys are so good. Go YouTube them, Google them, whatever you got to do to listen to their tunes. Buy a record if you can get your hands on it, because it's definitely worth it to spend money on their music. But I'm holding out reservation until the new record comes out in November to see if they're completely changing their sound or if they're just getting a lot more experimental. Either way, it could be a good thing. I'm not opposed to the pop punk sound. They do it well. This song is very well produced, very well executed, just unexpected. That's the best way to put it. And again, I'm rambling, so we're going to kick on to the next bit of news. Next, we are talking about Halloween, the movie / soundtrack, because John Carpenter just released the first song off of the soundtrack. It's called The Shape Returns, and if you're familiar with Halloween lore, oftentimes they refer to Michael Myers as the Shape, or the evil spirit that is within Michael Myers. They refer to that as the Shape. It kind of interchangeable in that respect, but the name of the tune is The Shape Returns. It's not anything super new. This is definitely just another version of the Danse Macabre that we've been getting with Halloween movies that since the very first movie that John Carpenter scored. So for those of you that don't know, he scored the first 3 movies and is now scoring this movie, which is ignoring everything from 3 until now. So if you're into synthwave, if you're into the dark kind of synth sounds, then you definitely are going to love this song. You can find the link to it in the description, just like the Maximum the Hormone. I didn't mention that. Maximum the Hormone, you can find the link to the video in the description, so you can go check it out, and then you can come back and we can talk about it down in the comments. Same thing with John Carpenter. The link to the video that has this tune in it is in the description. Go listen to it. The original soundtrack to Halloween gave birth to a whole subgenre of music, so it's noteworthy that Carpenter is returning to this sound, and it doesn't disappoint. It doesn't really give you anything new. It doesn't give you something to write home about necessarily, but it does definitely set the tone excellently. You are not disappointed because you get the things that you're expecting, I guess is the best way to put that. So yeah, check it out. Carpenter's synth is masterful, and we're going to move on to the next bit of news, which is stupid exciting. So Mudvayne is a band that is severely lacking in our current musical soundscape. Metal fans, new metal, whatever you want to call their sound, it just feels weird for me to call them new metal, even though I guess technically they fall into that category because of certain rhythmic elements or whatever. But they've been on hiatus since about 2010. They put out their last record, and then something happened inside the band. Still have not been able to get anything straight from any source as to what exactly that was. From watching, if you watch their behind the scenes documentaries and things like that, then it kind of shows that Matt and basically the rest of the band, primarily Chad, the vocalist, Matt, the drummer, didn't get along very well. So you kind of had very different personalities clashing. So it was kind of not super surprising when that kind of dissolved, but we're getting away from the exciting part. In a recent interview that Greg Tribbett, the guitar player from Mudvayne, did, he said that yes, there will be a reunion with the guys from Mudvayne. He didn't elaborate if that meant there's going to be a new record or if they're just going to eventually go on tour and play the hits, whatever. He just said there will be a reunion. But he said it's not going to be anytime soon. They're each still doing their individual projects. You have the really crappy band that Tribbett and McDonough are in now. We've talked about them a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to bring them back up. Soften the Glare is what Ryan Martini, the bass player, is doing these days. It's actually interesting. I'm not a big jam band guy. This is kind of a metal jam band with very minimal, if any, vocals. So it's really interesting. Go check out Soften the Glare. I don't have any links in the description for them, but pretty easy to find. Really, it's just because Ryan's in the band that it's interesting. I'm not ashamed to say that. And then you have Hell Yeah with Chad on vocals, and they're Hell Yeah, and they're continuing on apparently, even though Vinny's gone. So all of that stuff going on doesn't line up for a reunion anytime soon, but he says if we are patient enough we will get it. And then he likened them to System of a Down and said System of a Down has been on hiatus for 12 years and everybody's still harassing them to come back and do new music and go on tour and so on and so forth. He said, so I think we're in good company. Yeah. If we have the assurance it's going to happen, I'm totally cool with waiting. I'm gonna hand this one off to you guys, though. Is it kind of a cop-out to say sure it'll happen eventually if it never happens, or do you guys think that they are actually trying to put plans together for something to happen, and we're just not going to see it in the next year or two? Let's talk about that down low in the comments. And we're going to move on next to Prince. Now, it is no secret that Prince has an extensive vault, an extensive vault of music. If you are even a slight fan of Kevin Smith and you've seen, I believe it's the First Evening with Kevin Smith video, then you'll know that Prince did quite a few projects that haven't seen the light of day, and it sounds like many of those are not at a state of completion in which they will be able to see the light of day, but we are going to get something from the vault, and quite a few things I would imagine as we get further down the road. But the first thing we're going to be getting is called A Piano and a Microphone, 1983. This is a session that Prince did, just him with a microphone, sitting at the piano, playing, and this was the inception of Purple Rain. This is where he first put Purple Rain to tape. There's also apparently about 7 other songs in this that are going to be on this album that we've kind of sort of seen through the years, as there's been 1 or 2 of them have been turned into B-sides, and the rest have kind of shown up on bootlegs and never an official release. This will be the first time they have been officially released from the Prince camp. And the manager of the vault has said that there is a lot there to go through. Some of it we will be seeing in the future. How near of a future is still kind of up in the air. But again, we are getting this one record, and that's pretty exciting, even though it's not Prince on the guitar. And that's kind of why I love Prince, is because of his guitar skills, though he's an incredible songwriter as well. So this is nothing but good. We're gonna move on then to our last bit of news for music this week, and this one's a little more meta. We're talking about a study from a University College London PhD student by the name of Lindsay Bishop. Her area of study, she's an archaeologist, she's going for her PhD, and her area of study, archaeologist, oh man, what is the word I'm looking for? It starts with an A. Anthropologist. Good Lord. She's an anthropologist going for her PhD, and her specific area of study is music. And even more specifically, it seems, right now at least, she's focusing on metal specifically. And so far, she is still doing the coursework, and she is still doing the things. You can go check out her website, lindsay-bishop.com, and you could actually become a part of the documentary series that she's working on, which is interesting. But her conclusion so far is that metal is one of the more inclusive music subcultures. Not specifically the music itself, but the culture that surrounds the music. Even though she does recognize that there have been many changes for the better, that it make the genre of music itself is opening up to be more inclusive. You're seeing a lot more females, and you're seeing a lot more POC, and so on and so forth. So that is going in the right direction. But her big thing was that anyone can join the community, and there's a set of rules and etiquette that gets passed down from elders in the community to the younger people, specifically around mosh pits. And we've talked about mosh pit etiquette before. You can follow the card there if you haven't seen that video. It's not one of my better ones, but I feel like the points that I make are still very, very valid, even though when I made it, my video editing skills were not quite what they are today. But yeah, so her conclusion so far, again, is that metal is a healthy community in so many words. So it's just good to see that kind of recognition. And again, you can go check out her website, link down in the description. You can get a little bit more of a complete, detailed information on how she's doing her studies and the bands that she's following to study, and actually the interviews that she's done in the crowd with people. You can go check that out over on her website. Again, link in the description. That is the end of this week's music episode, guys. What did I miss? What should we talk about next week? Let me know in the comments down low. If, though, you want to go deeper in the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net. That is the place that you can go join the conversation with me a little more deeply. You can find all the freebies and the social medias and the links to the store, so you can get your very own nerdy swag, t-shirts, and all kinds of stuff up in. There are 3 different stores, so go check them out over on generallynerdy.net. There's Patreon. Patreon.com/generallynerdy. That's where you can go if you want to support the channel a little more directly. Everybody knows at this point how Patreon works. I don't have to break that down, but I do have to let you know it's just $1 a month to get in on the base level, and you get quite a bit for that $1. So go check it out. Patreon.com/generallynerdy. If you are new to this channel, though, click the subscribe button. If you like the episode, click the like button. If you're falling behind on your nerd news and you want to catch up, click or tap that box right there to the left of my face to do that. But before we go do the things and buy the shirts and stuff, guys, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, It's probably here.